Real quickly before we begin, I want to thank this video's sponsor, carmarshal.com. Carmarshal.com can save you lots of money on buying used or new vehicles, cars, trucks, school buses. If you want to save money, I'll have a link in the description down below. I know I'm going to
Illinois police just claimed if marijuana is legalized, they'll have to kill their police dogs. Police are now threatening the public, claiming they may have to euthanize drug dogs if marijuana becomes legal because they were trained to be antisocial. By John Vibes, May 8, 2018. Chad Larner, the training director of the Canine Training Academy in Macon County, Illinois, said in a recent interview that police departments throughout the state may have to euthanize drug dogs if marijuana is legalized. Larner said that it would be abusive to retrain the dogs and that it could even be impossible. He also said that the dogs are trained to not be social because that is what the job requires. According to the Pantograph, because many canines are trained not to be social so their work won't be affected, Larner said a number of dogs would likely have to be euthanized. Other police in the state seem to have similar feelings on the subject. Assistant Police Chief Steve Petrilli of the Normal Police Department said that it would be impossible to retrain the dogs. At this point, they're trained on 5 different odors. Once they're programmed with that, you can't just deprogram them. I think the implications of that would be huge, Petrilli said. However, it is actually possible to retrain the canines, as many police departments in Washington have shown. Legalization activist Dan Lin of Normal thinks that the police are just making empty threats to scare the public. The idea that legalizing for adults to have an ounce on them will equal all these dogs being euthanized, that seems kind of ridiculous and hyperbolic, he said. Macon County Sheriff Howard Buffett complained that this would make the dogs useless to the department, and would be a victory for drug dealers. The biggest thing for law enforcement is, you're going to have to replace all of your dogs. So to me, it's a giant step forward for drug dealers, and it's a giant step backward for law enforcement and the residents of the community, Buffett said. In 2016, Buffett's personal foundation reportedly invested $2.2 million in training for canine units throughout 33 counties across Illinois. It is strange that one of the excuses that they have for not wanting to retrain the canines is that it would be abusive, but to train them to be vicious and keep them as attack dog slaves is extremely abusive in itself. There are likely millions of dog owners, trainers, and rescuers who would be willing to show these animals a loving home so they can grow to be social again. The use of dogs in police business is inhumane both for the animals, and the suspects who they are often unleashed on. Our society shuns animal abusers and people who raise dogs specifically for fighting, and rightfully so, but how are police dogs any different than an attack dog that a street gang breeds to be as aggressive as possible, for the purpose of winning money in dogfights and intimidating rivals? In many cases, these animals are often treated as nothing more than disposable weapons by the police that are in charge of caring for them. In fact, it is sadly common for police officers to get accused of animal cruelty for abusing or neglecting their dogs. Just this week, the Free Thought Project reported that an officer was caught on video abusing his own search dog when the animal failed to signal for drugs at a traffic stop. It is also common for police to leave their dogs in hot cars for extended periods of time until they die. One police officer in Georgia killed 3 of his dogs, one by leaving it in a hot car, and 2 others by shooting them. Officer Daniel Peabody of the Cherokee County Marshal's Office buried the first 2 dogs in his yard and was eventually caught when he killed the third. When police dogs retire from official duty, they are supposed to return home and live with their handlers, but this is not always the case. In the state of Illinois where this controversy has happened, some officers reportedly dropped their dogs off at shelters after they were retired. If any other organization was caught treating animals like this on such a regular basis and were admittedly raising them to be aggressive, there would be massive public outrage and calls of animal abuse, but the police are allowed to be abusers, so situations like this are often overlooked or ignored.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.